Do you recognize this photo? Or more specifically, the object in this photo? You, like most people, probably have no idea what you're looking at other than a sculpture of some kind being unveiled by the Queen, and on that assumption you would be correct. But what if I told you that 2-ton block of acrylic, the largest block of acrylic ever cast at the time, had a brother, a much more sinister, ominous, and darker brother? As with many of his films, Kubrick was heavily involved in every aspect of the production of 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001 was a unique film for Kubrick as he was developing his version of the film at the same time Arthur C. Clarke was writing the novel. Just like his work on more established media, Kubrick's production varies heavily from the source material. Originally conceptualized by Clarke to be a transparent tetrahedral pyramid, much like the monolithic pyramids of our own planet, a London firm by the name of Stanley Plastics was approached by Kubrick to develop the model. Citing construction constraints, a pyramid of this kind was unable to be manufactured at the time, and Kubrick accepted the flat slab shape as an alternative. Predictably, Kubrick was unhappy with test shots of this dazzlingly transparent monolith, which is how it came to rest at the Borehamwood Wood Film Studios for years until sculptor Arthur Fleischmann acquired it. For 3 months, Fleischmann chiseled the block to commemorate the Silver Jubilee in 1977, where it was unveiled by the Queen herself. The prop sits above an ATM at St. Catherine Docks to this day. The imposing monolith as we know it wasn't conceptualized until art director Anthony Masters suggested that the monolith's surface be painted matte black. At this point in production, a tall, black monolith was constructed from wood and painted black. According to production designer Harry Lang, a graphite mix was added to the paint to make the sheen especially smooth. The necessity of the monolith's surface to remain perfectly clean became an issue on set. Touching the surface of the monolith on set with bare hands was expressly forbidden, as grease and fingerprints were immediately noticeable on the flawless matte surface. Because of this, the monolith was wrapped in giant layers of plastic between scenes. Another production designer, Tony Masters, expressed that the monolith was effectively a dust magnet, claiming that by the time the prop was finally in position on set, it would be completely coated. Due to the nature of the materials, the monolith would warp over time on set, and the paint would blister under the heat of the studio lights. Because of this, several monoliths had to be constructed and were allegedly repainted anytime Kubrick spotted a blemish. All of these factors contributed to the creation of the monolith we recognize today. But even after all that work, Kubrick still had to get creative during principal photography. Despite being matte black, the monolith would still pick up and reflect light the way any perfectly level plane would, meaning to remain truly monolithic in shape, color, and lighting, it had to be lit from behind. Take a look at the scene on the moon where the only powered lights in the scene are the ones behind the monolith, and you can clearly see the ones in front of the monolith are off. Those lights only come on when the camera is on the other side of the monolith. This angle is one of the best glimpses at just how reflective the prop is, and further demonstrates the need for shot-specific lighting setups. Stories like this are what fuel my passion for filmmaking. As iconic as your favorite film may be, I promise that every aspect of its production was complicated with struggle and limitations. On a modern film set, the notion of a black rectangle being a problem would be laughable, as rudimentary CGI would just cover the blemishes. However, those limitations are what give the films of this time the unspoken qualities that are simply absent from modern theme park cinema. It's not a novel idea that creatives thrive under limitation, but it's stories like this and filmmakers like Kubrick that can help remind us all that CGI and post-credit scenes simply aren't alternatives for craftsmanship, resourcefulness, and ingenuity.